Please watch this entire video to get a complete understanding of the throne of David. Thank you. Deuteronomy 17 verses 14 through 20. When you are come unto the land which Yahuwah Elohika gives you, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. You shall in any wise set him king over you, whom Yahuwah Elohika shall choose. One from among your brethren shall you set king over you. You may not set a stranger over you which is not your brother. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. Forasmuch as Yahuwah has said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Neither shall he multiply women to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. And it shall be, when he sits upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this Torah, in a sefer out of that which is before the priests the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear Yahuwah Elohayu, to guard all the words of this Torah and these statutes, to do them, that his heart be not lifted up above his brethren, and that he turn not aside from the commandment to the right hand, or to the left, to the end, that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children in the midst of Israel. God never desired to put an earthly king over Israel. God, who knows all things, knew they would one day turn away from his rule over them through his chosen servants. For this reason, he put instructions in the laws of Moses to guide those kings, and also to warn his people on what to watch out for. Little good that did. The government of Israel was and is supposed to be a monarchy. However, the monarchy of Israel was and is supposed to be with the king sitting on his throne in the heavenly Mount Zion. This is what God purposed from the beginning, and this will be the future of Israel in the millennial kingdom. Jesus is never going to return to this earth to sit on an earthly throne in Israel. When Yahuwah creates a new heaven and a new earth, and New Jerusalem descends from heaven, then Jesus will be sitting on his throne in the New Jerusalem on the new earth. Until then, Jesus will rule and reign over Israel with his Father, Yahuwah, from his Father's throne in the heavenly Mount Zion. I will use this post to go into those scriptures with enough detail for you to understand clearly. The story of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Jacob's 12 sons is familiar to most churchgoers. If you want to read up on it, start in Genesis 12 and read to the end of Genesis. According to Genesis, 70 people left the land that God had promised to give to Abraham's descendants and went to Egypt to live because of a severe drought. Then, according to Genesis 15:16 in the fourth generation, they would leave Egypt to return to the land God had promised them. Genesis 15 verse 16. But in the fourth generation, they shall come hither again. For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. During that time the children of Jacob, Israel, would have grown from 70 people to more than 600,000 men 20 years of age and older along with women and children. Exodus 12 verse 37. The Israelites journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth with about 600,000 men on foot besides women and children. The children of Israel refused to return to the land of Canaan, the land that God had promised to give them because they feared the people who were living there. They saw giants living in the land, and did not believe in the promises of God. Therefore they spent the next 40 years wandering in the desert until the entire generation of men 20 years of age and older died, with the exception of 2 men. One of those 2 men was Joshua, Moses' servant. Joshua's name in Hebrew is Yahusha. He would succeed Moses as the leader of Israel and lead the people into the Promised Land. The Promised Land was the land of Canaan, which is now Israel. We will pick the story up there because the day that Israel crossed the Jordan River and entered the Promised Land was the day Israel became a nation. Up until that time they were a people, but they were not a nation until they took possession of some land. Once they began to conquer the land, they changed from being a people to being a nation. This is important to our study because we need to know the original form of government of the nation of Israel. From there, we can see how it changes and the impact of those changes, along with looking at the prophecies concerning how the future government of Israel will be structured and function. Let's start with the crossing of the Jordan River and entering into the land of Canaan. Joshua 3 verses 1 through 17. Please note in Sefer translation of these verses, Joshua will be called by his Hebrew name, Yahusha. Joshua is an English name, but Joshua's Hebrew name is Yahusha. This is important for you to know because Joshua's Hebrew name Yahusha is exactly the same as Jesus' Hebrew name Yahusha. Once you understand this, the foreshadowing of the life of Joshua is easier to see. And Yahusha, Joshua, rose early in the morning, and they removed from Shittim and came to the Jordan, he and all the children of Israel, and lodged there before they passed over. And it came to pass after 3 days that the officers went through the host, and they commanded the people, saying, When ye see the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah Elohim, Elohim means your God, and the priests the Levites bearing it, then ye shall remove from your place and go after it. Yet there shall be a space between you and it, about 2,000 cubits by measure. Come not near unto it, that ye may know the way by which ye must go, for ye have not passed this way heretofore. And Yahusha said unto the people, Sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow Yahuwah will do wonders among you. And Yahusha spoke unto the priests, saying, Take up the ark of the covenant and pass over before the people. And they took up the ark of the covenant and went before the people. And Yahuwah said unto Yahusha, This day will I begin to magnify you in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. And you shall command the priests that bear the ark of the covenant, saying, When ye are come to the brink of the water of the Jordan, ye shall stand still in the Jordan. And Yahusha said unto the children of Israel, Come hither, and hear the words of Yahuwah Elohim. And Yahusha said, Hereby ye shall know that the living God is among you, and that he will without fail drive out from before you the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Hivites, and the Perizzites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Jebusites. Behold, the ark of the covenant of the Adonai of all the earth passes over before you into the Jordan. Now therefore take you 12 men out of the tribes of Israel, out of every tribe a man. And it shall come to pass, as soon as the soles of the feet of the priests that bear the ark of Yahuwah, the Adonai of all the earth, shall rest in the waters of the Jordan, that the waters of the Jordan shall be cut off from the waters that come down from above, and they shall stand upon a heap. And it came to pass, when the people removed from their tents, to pass over the Jordan, and the priests bearing the ark of the covenant before the people, and as they that bore the ark were come unto the Jordan, and the feet of the priests that bore the ark were dipped in the brim of the water, for the Jordan overflows all his banks all the time of harvest, that the waters which came down from above stood and rose up upon a heap very far from the city Adam, that is beside Zaratan, and those that came down toward the sea of the plain, even the salt sea, failed, and were cut off, and the people passed over right against Jericho. And the priests that bore the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah stood firm on dry ground in the midst of the Jordan, and all Israel passed over on dry ground until all the people were passed clean over the Jordan. Here we see a beautiful picture of Jesus, in the form of the ark of the covenant, going ahead of his people, preparing the way and showing them the way into the promise of his father Yahuwah. Look at verse 4 and you will see the instruction for the people to stay back about 2,000 cubits. This is the foreshadowing of Jesus going ahead and preparing the way for his people, about 2,000 years ahead of them, to enter into the promise of God. Jesus began his ministry in the year 26 CE. 2,000 years later would be the year 2026 CE. By this we know the time is near for the kingdom of God to be established on the earth beginning in Israel. When the descendants of Israel crossed over the Jordan River, Yahuwah parted the waters for them so they could cross over on dry ground, just as he parted the Red Sea for them when they left Egypt some 40 years earlier. When they came up from the Jordan River that day, they camped that night in Gilgal. That was on the 10th day of the first month of the year in Israel, which is the month of Nisan. Israel remained at Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day of that month. And on the 15th day of that month, they ate the old grain of the land of Canaan. On the next day the manna ceased, and they ate the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. Joshua chapter 4 verses 17 through 19. Yahusha therefore commanded the priests, saying, Come ye up out of the Jordan. And it came to pass, when the priests that bore the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah were come up out of the midst of the Jordan, And the soles of the priests' feet were lifted up unto the dry land, that the waters of the Jordan returned unto their place, and flowed over all his banks, as they did before. And the people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and encamped in Gilgal, in the east border of Jericho. Joshua chapter 5 verses 10 through 12. And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal, and kept the Passover, on the 14th day of the month at evening in the plains of Jericho. And they did eat of the old grain of the land on the morrow after the Passover, matzah cakes, and parched grain in the selfsame day. And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old grain of the land, neither had the children of Israel manna any more, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. Gilgal became the governmental center for Israel during their initial military campaigns. The tabernacle of the congregation was set up there, and the Ark of the Covenant was placed there in the Holy of Holies. This lasted at least 5 years until Joshua began to divide the land they had conquered among the tribes of Israel. Then the center of government was moved from Gilgal to Shiloh, Joshua chapter 18 verses 1 and 2, and the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled together at Shiloh, and set up the tabernacle of the congregation there, and the land was subdued before them. And there remained among the children of Israel 7 tribes, which had not yet received their inheritance. The tabernacle of the congregation was deeply significant and foundational to Israel's religious and national identity. The tabernacle, also known as the tent of meeting, was a portable sanctuary that served as the central place of worship and communication with God for the Israelites during their journey in the wilderness and the early years in the Promised Land. The tabernacle remained in Shiloh for over 300 years. The time of the judges who judged Israel was 356 years from the time that Israel entered into the Promised Land, until the time Saul, the first king of Israel. 5 years in Gilgal and 300+ years in Shiloh, and 20 years in Kirjath-Jearim, till the time of Saul. The time of the judges is central to our understanding of God's chosen form of government on earth. God has never changed. He allowed men to choose for themselves and fail, which we will look at shortly. However, he will have his way in the end. Let's take a look at the verse in Isaiah that states clearly and straightforward what God intends to do. Isaiah chapter 1 verses 24 through 28. Therefore says Adonai, Yahuwah Tsevaoth. Tsevaoth literally means hosts or armies. The mighty one of Israel, I will ease me of my adversaries and avenge me of my enemies, and I will turn my hand upon you, and purely purge away your dross and take away all your tin, and I will restore your judges as at the first, and your counselors as at the beginning. Afterward you shall be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Zion shall be redeemed with judgment, and her converts with righteousness. And the destruction of the transgressors and of the sinners shall be together, and they that forsake Yahuwah shall be consumed. Now we know for sure the form of government Yahuwah will establish in Israel during the millennial reign. The 1,000 years of peace on earth will be judges, just as it was at the beginning. Let's take a deeper look at the 406 years from Moses to Samuel's anointing of Saul to be king, to get a better understanding of how that government functioned. Practically speaking, Moses was the first judge of Israel. Moses was the man that God, Yahuwah, raised up to be a deliverer of Israel from the oppression of the Pharaoh of Egypt. God Yahuwah chose Moses. This was Yahweh's sovereign decision. This is the first pillar of his government. Yahuwah chooses his judges and his counselors. They are not of a family line. Kings typically have their children as successors. That is not God's way. God chooses the successor. You will see in the book of Judges and in the book of Samuel that Eli's sons were failures and Samuel's sons were failures. Anytime the judges' sons get involved, it turns out wrong. Joshua was the second judge of Israel. He was Moses' successor, but not Moses' son. He was the one Yahuwah chose to lead Israel into the promised land, not Moses. Again, that was a sovereign decision by Yahuwah. After Joshua, there were 15 more judges that Yahuwah sovereignly raised up to judge Israel. The following is a list of those judges and the biblical references where you can read about them if you choose. Othniel, Judges chapter 3 verses 7 through 11. he judged Israel 40 years. Ehud, Judges chapter 3 verses 12 through 30, he judged Israel 80 years. Shamgar, Judges chapter 3 verse 31, unknown length of time. Deborah and Barak, Judges chapters 4 and 5, they judged Israel 40 years. Gideon, Judges chapters 6 through 8, he judged Israel 40 years. Abimelech, Judges chapter 9, he judged Israel 3 years. Tola, Judges chapter 10 verses 1 and 2, he judged Israel 23 years. Jair, Judges chapter 10 verses 3 through 5, he judged Israel 22 years. Jephthah, Judges chapter 10 verse 6 through chapter 12 verse 7, he judged Israel 6 years. Ibzan, Judges chapter 12 verses 8 through 10, he judged Israel 7 years. Elon, Judges chapter 12 verses 11 and 12, he judged Israel 10 years. Abdon, Judges chapter 12 verses 13 through 15, he judged Israel 8 years. Samson, Judges chapters 13 through 16, he judged Israel 20 years. Eli, 1 Samuel chapters 1 through 4, the exact years unknown, he died at 98 years old. Samuel, books of Samuel 1 and 2, exact age when he anointed Saul king is unknown. In a similar pattern to Moses, the majority of these judges were raised up to be deliverers of Israel from the oppression of their enemies. Not all of them, but most of them start out that way, and then continue to judge Israel after defeating their oppressor. For most of them, they continue in their role until they die. Let's take a look at the common traits and duties of Israel's judges. Common traits of judges. 1. God's call. All the judges were called and chosen by God to fulfill a specific purpose. They did not seek the position of leadership but were raised up by God to deliver Israel from their enemies and to provide guidance to the people. 2. Military leadership. Most of the judges were military leaders who led Israel in battles against their oppressors. They displayed bravery, courage, and strategic prowess in leading the Israelite armies to victory. 3. Deliverance from oppression. One of the primary roles of the judges was to deliver the Israelites from their oppressors, such as foreign nations or hostile neighbors who were oppressing them and seeking to control their territory. 4. Duration of rule. The judges did not always rule until they died. Some did, some did not. 5. Spiritual leadership. Along with their military leadership, many of the judges also served as spiritual guides, calling the people to repentance and encouraging them to follow God's laws and commandments. 6. Imperfections. Despite their leadership roles, the judges were not perfect individuals. Some of them had personal flaws and weaknesses. For example, Samson struggled with issues related to personal desires, while Gideon displayed hesitancy and sought signs from God. 7. God's divine assistance. The judges relied on God's divine assistance and guidance to achieve victory and deliverance for the nation. Their successes were often attributed to God's intervention. 8. Localized leadership. The judges provided localized leadership to specific tribes or regions rather than uniting the entire nation under one central government. 9. Diversity. The judges came from various backgrounds and professions, reflecting the diverse nature of the Israelite society. Once you understand that this will be the form of government in the millennial kingdom, then a lot of verses in the Bible that seem obscure become clear. Let's take a look at some of them. First, these passages from Micah. This is the most beautiful prophecy of our Messiah, the remnant, and the defeat of the false prophet in the Bible, in my opinion. I love these verses. Micah chapter 5, verses 2 through 6. But you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, though you be little among the thousands of Yehudah, yet out of you shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting. Therefore will he give them up, until the time that she which travails has brought forth. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return unto the children of Israel. And he shall stand and feed in the strength of Yahuwah, in the majesty of the name of Yahuwah Elohayu, and they shall abide, for now shall he be great unto the ends of the earth. And this man, Jesus, Yahusha Hamaskiach, shall be the peace when Ashur, the Assyrian, the false prophet, shall come into our land, and when he shall tread in our palaces, then shall we raise against him 7 shepherds and 8 principal men, and they shall waste the land of Ashur, modern-day Iran and Iraq, with the sword, and the land of Nimrod in the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from Ashur, when he comes into our land, and when he treads within our borders. The 7 shepherds and 8 principal men are the judges and counselors Yahuwah promised to restore in Isaiah 1:26, quoted above. They will lead Israel against the oppressors, the false prophet, and the Antichrist. Yahuwah will choose the 7 shepherds and 8 principal men, Now let's look at a prophecy in Zechariah and see both the judges Yahuwah will raise up and also the supernatural anointing on those judges and on the people they lead. Zechariah chapter 12 verses 1 through 9. The burden of the word of Yahuwah for Israel, says Yahuwah, which stretches forth the heavens and lays the foundation of the earth and forms the Ruach, spirit, of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege both against Judah and against Jerusalem. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people, all that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. In that day, says Yahuwah, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness, and I will open my eyes upon the house of Judah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. And the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength in Yahuwah Sevaoth Elohim, Yahuwah God of armies, your God. In that day will I make the governors of Judah like a hearth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf. And they shall devour all the people round about, on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. Yahuwah also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David, and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem, do not magnify themselves against Judah. In that day shall Yahuwah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as Elohim, gods, as the angel of Yahuwah before them. And it shall come to pass in that day, that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. This is the counter-offensive. The Antichrist and the false prophet have wrought their signs and miracles and deceived all the nations of the earth into coming up against Israel and Jerusalem. Now Yahuwah will anoint governors to lead his people into battle. The spirit of Yahuwah will come upon them in a similar manner, as you read about the spirit of Yahuwah coming upon Samson. They will be like a hearth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf. David was a mighty warrior. He led his people into battle against Israel's enemies and subdued them. In the battle described above, the very least of the inhabitants of Jerusalem will be like David. The house of David, his descendants, will be like gods. This is reminiscent of what Yahuwah said to Moses at the burning bush. Exodus chapter 4 verses 14 through 17. And the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Moses, and he said, Is not Aaron the Levite your brother? I know that he can speak well. And also behold, he comes forth to meet you, and when he sees you, he will be glad in his heart. And you shall speak unto him, and put the words in his mouth, and I will be with your mouth, and with his mouth, and will teach you what ye shall do. And he shall be your spokesman unto the people, and he shall be, even he shall be to you instead of a mouth, and you shall be to him instead of God. And you shall take this rod in your hand, wherewith you shall do signs. As Moses was a great deliverer of Israel from the oppression of Pharaoh of Egypt, it was said that Moses would be to Aaron like God speaking to him. Moses wrought great signs with the rod in his hand. In the same way, the house of David will be like God's. Here are a couple of examples from the book of Judges of those judges in the role of deliverers. Judges chapter 3 verse 9. And when the children of Israel cried unto Yahuwah, Yahuwah raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel, who delivered them, even Othniel the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. Judges chapter 3 verse 15. But when the children of Israel cried unto Yahuwah, Yahuwah raised them up a deliverer, Ehud the son of Gera, a Benjamite, a man left-handed. And by him the children of Israel sent a present unto Eglon the king of Moab. Now let's go back to the prophetic scriptures. Obadiah chapter 1 verses 15 through 21. For the day of Yahuwah is near upon all the heathen. As you have done, it shall be done unto you. Your reward shall return upon your own head. For as you have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them, and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahuwah has spoken it. And they of the Negev shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the plain the Philistines, and they shall possess the fields of Ephraim, and the fields of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead even unto Zarephath. And the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sepharad, shall possess the cities of the Negev, and saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be Yahweh's. Saviors here once again are deliverers, judges. Many of these prophetic scriptures we have looked at talk about the anointing that will come upon Yahweh's chosen leaders at the beginning of the millennial kingdom. Zechariah chapter 4 verse 6. Then he answered and spoke unto me, saying, This is the word of Yahuwah unto Zerubbabel, saying, Not by might nor by power but by my spirit, says Yahuwah Tsevaoth. Time will not allow me to go into every scripture in detail, but I hope you have gotten the understanding from these. In these few scriptures we see the 9 characteristics of judges listed above in these prophetic scriptures. God calls them and anoints them with His Spirit. They show military leadership, delivering their people from oppression, providing spiritual leadership, etc. This is the future government of Israel. They will rule the earth with a rod of iron. They will judge Israel and the rest of the world. Micah chapter 4 verses 1 through 3. But in the last days it shall come to pass, that the mountain of the house of Yahuwah shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. And many nations shall come and say, Come and let us go up to the mountain of Yahuwah and to the house of the God of Jacob, and He will teach us of His ways, and we will walk in His paths. For the Torah shall go forth of Zion, and the word of Yahuwah from Jerusalem, and He shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Now that we have covered that part, I am going to show you what the Bible really says about a future earthly king in Israel. There will never be another king sitting on an earthly throne in Israel until heaven and earth pass away. One of the biggest errors taught in many English-speaking churches is that Jesus is going to return to earth, defeat the Antichrist, and take His rightful place on the throne of David as the King of Israel and rule Israel and the rest of the world for the next 1,000 years. Here's where they get that idea. This is the angel Gabriel speaking to Mary, Jesus' mother, before Jesus was born. Luke chapter 1 verses 26 through 33. And in the 6th month the angel Gabriel was sent from God unto a city of Galilee, named Nazareth, to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. And the angel came in unto her and said, Hail, thou that art highly favored, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women. And when she saw him, she was troubled at his saying, and cast in her mind what manner of salutation this should be. And the angel said unto her, Fear not, Mary, for thou hast found favor with God. And behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb, and bring forth a son, and shalt call his name Jesus. He shall be great, and shall be called the Son of the Highest. And the Lord God shall give unto him the throne of his father David. And he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there shall be no end. This prophecy of Gabriel is all true. Jesus, or Yahusha, is sitting on the throne of his father David right now, and he is not getting up. The purpose of this post is to give you an understanding of just exactly what Gabriel is saying. Let's start at the beginning. And it came to pass when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second, Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba. But his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, took bribes, and perverted judgment. Sound familiar? Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together, and came to Samuel unto Ramah, and said unto him, Behold, you are old, and your sons walk not in your ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto Yahuwah, And Yahweh said unto Samuel, Hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. According to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me, and served other gods, so do they also unto you. From the time that Yahweh appointed Moses to be a deliverer of Israel, for the next 406 years, Yahweh ruled over Israel through his chosen leaders, through judges. Yahweh has been sitting on his throne as their king in the heavenly Mount Zion. Now Israel no longer wants that type of government. They do not want God-appointed judges ruling them. They want an earthly king. Yahweh says to Samuel, give them what they want. Only Samuel, don't take it hard. They are not rejecting you, they are rejecting me. The throne where the ruler sits is leaving heaven and coming to earth. Israel thinks it is forever, but Yahweh knows the throne is on loan. The Bible provides quite a bit of detail about each of the kings of Israel. It provides their names and a brief history of their successes and failures. You can read about the kings in the books of Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, and 1st and 2nd Chronicles. Also, Isaiah and Jeremiah give some significant details. For the sake of time, I will provide a synopsis of each of the kings, starting with Saul, David, and Solomon in the United Kingdom, and then separating the Northern Kingdom and Judah-Benjamin Kingdom. Saul, the first king of a united Israel including both the northern and southern tribes, he was a mighty warrior, but his disobedience to God led to the eventual loss of the kingdom. David, the most celebrated king of Israel, known for his military prowess, his faith in God, and his psalms. He united the tribes and established Jerusalem as the capital. Solomon, son of David and Bathsheba, known for his wisdom and wealth. He built the first temple in Jerusalem, but his later years were marred by idolatry and oppression. The Northern Kingdom, Jeroboam the First. After Solomon's death, the kingdom was divided into the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. Jeroboam the First became the first king of the northern kingdom of Israel. Nadab, son of Jeroboam the First, who ruled for a brief period before being assassinated. Baasha, he killed Nadab and established a new dynasty. Elah, son of Baasha, who ruled briefly before being assassinated by Zimri. Zimri, he assassinated Elah, but his rule lasted only 7 days before the people proclaimed Omri as king. Omri, he became king after Zimri and established a successful dynasty. Ahab, son of Omri, and a notable king known for his marriage to Jezebel and his conflicts with the prophet Elijah. Ahaziah, son of Ahab and Jezebel, who ruled for a short period before dying due to injuries from a fall. Jehoram, also known as Joram, brother of Ahaziah, who succeeded him as king. Jehu, he led a coup against the house of Omri and killed both Jehoram and Ahaziah. Jehoahaz, son of Jehu, who ruled for a short period before being defeated and oppressed by the Syrians. Jehoash, also known as Joash, son of Jehoahaz, who ruled for a significant period and led successful military campaigns against the Syrians. Jeroboam II, son of Jehoash, who presided over a time of relative prosperity and expansion of the kingdom's territory. Zechariah, son of Jeroboam II, who ruled for a short period before being assassinated by Shallum. Shallum, he assassinated Zechariah, but his rule only lasted for a month before being overthrown by Menahem. Menahem, he killed Shallum and established a new dynasty. Pekahiah, son of Menahem, who ruled briefly before being assassinated by Pekah. Pekah, he killed Pekahiah and became king, but faced threats from the Assyrians. Hoshea, he assassinated Pekah and became the last king of the northern kingdom of Israel before its fall to the Assyrians in 722 BCE. The kingdom of Judah and Benjamin. Rehoboam, son of Solomon, whose heavy-handed policies led to the rebellion of the 10 northern tribes, resulting in the division of the kingdom. Abijam, also known as Abijah, son of Rehoboam, who continued the conflicts with the northern kingdom. He is praised for his faithfulness to God during battle. Asa, son of Abijam, a righteous king who implemented religious reforms and enjoyed a time of peace and prosperity. Jehoshaphat, son of Asa, a godly king who sought the Lord and maintained an alliance with the northern kingdom of Israel during the early years. Jehoram, also known as Joram, son of Jehoshaphat, who married Athaliah, the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel. He promoted Baal worship and faced opposition from Edom and Libnah. Ahaziah, son of Jehoram and Athaliah, who continued his mother's influence of promoting idolatry. His reign was short-lived as he was killed by Jehu. Athaliah, not a rightful queen, she was the mother of Ahaziah and seized the throne after his death, ruling as a wicked queen for 6 years. Joash, also known as Jehoash, son of Ahaziah, who was hidden in the temple during Athaliah's reign. He became king at a young age and initiated religious reforms. Amaziah, son of Joash, a king who started well but later turned to idolatry, and was defeated by Jehoash, the king of Israel. Uzziah, also known as Azariah, son of Amaziah, known for his successful reign and military achievements. He began as a righteous king but later faced God's judgment for his pride. Jotham, son of Uzziah, a righteous king who followed in his father's early footsteps, but idolatry persisted among the people. Ahaz, son of Jotham, who embraced idolatry and sought foreign alliances, leading the nation astray from God. Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, one of the most righteous kings of Judah. He initiated significant religious reforms and trusted in God during the Assyrian invasion. Manasseh, son of Hezekiah, known for his wicked reign filled with idolatry and oppression. However, he later repented and sought God's forgiveness. Amon, son of Manasseh, who followed his father's early wicked ways but was assassinated after a brief reign. Josiah, son of Amon, a righteous king who instituted religious reforms and rediscovered the book of the law in the temple. He was tragically killed in battle against Pharaoh Necho. Jehoahaz, also known as Shallum, son of Josiah, who reigned for a short period and was taken captive by Pharaoh Necho. Jehoiakim, also known as Eliakim, older son of Josiah, who was placed on the throne by Pharaoh Necho. He ruled as a puppet king under Egyptian and later Babylonian control. Jehoiakim, also known as Jeconiah or Coniah, he was the son of Jehoiakim and ruled for a brief period before being taken into Babylonian captivity in 586 BCE. This is my count. I could be off a king or two. It is a little difficult to track because the stories are intertwined. Hopefully you should be able to get a good feel for the decline of Israel as a society under these earthly kings. During the reign of these kings, Israel quickly fell into civil war and became a divided kingdom. Under their rule, idolatry ran rampant through the northern kingdom, ending in their demise at the hands of the Assyrian Empire in 722 BCE. Judah was the slightly more faithful kingdom with notable rulers who tried to establish the law of Moses with limited success. They were quickly followed by faithless successor kings. Judah's decline and inability to purge idolatry from their society ended in captivity and exile by the Babylonian Empire in 586 BCE, ending Israel as a sovereign nation. Under the rule of earthly kings, Israel lost their land to the Assyrians and the Babylonians. They ceased to exist as a sovereign nation. As a result, Yahweh declared in Hosea, Hos 13, 9-11, O Israel, thou hast destroyed thyself, but in me is thine help. I will be thy king. Where is any other that may save thee in all thy cities? And thy judges of whom thou saidst, Give me a king and princes, I gave thee a king in mine anger, and took him away in my wrath. Israel, under their own rule, destroyed herself. God gave up his throne and let earthly kings sit on it. In doing so, the earthly kings lost the kingdom. In the verses from Hosea above, Yahweh acknowledges that Israel through self-rule has destroyed herself. Then he goes on to say that he, Yahweh, will once again resume his role as king of Israel. The throne, his throne, is once again back in the heavenly Mount Zion. Now let's see what Yahweh had to say about the last king of Judah in the line of David. His name was Jehoiakim, also known as Jeconiah or Coniah. Jeremiah 22 verses 24-30. As I live, saith Yahweh, though Coniah the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, were the signet upon my right hand, yet would I pluck thee thence. And I will give thee into the hand of them that seek thy life, and into the hand of them whose face thou fearest, even into the hand of Nebuchadrezzar king of Babylon, and into the hand of the Chaldeans. And I will cast thee out, and thy mother that bare thee into another country where ye were not born, and there shall ye die. But to the land whereunto they desire to return, thither shall they not return. Is this man Coniah a despised broken idol? Is he a vessel wherein is no pleasure? Wherefore are they cast out, he and his seed, and are cast into a land which they know not? O earth, 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 hear the word of the Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh, write ye this man childless, a man that shall not prosper in his days, for no man of his seed shall prosper, sitting upon the throne of David, and ruling any more in Judah. The line of David was cut off from sitting on the throne of David and ruling in Judah. the angel of Yahuwah. From the time of Moses and forward, it was always the will of God to rule Israel from his throne in the heavenly Mount Zion. He raised up Moses to be both a deliverer and a lawgiver. He met with Moses on Mount Sinai in order to give his laws to his people. Once Moses had finished all that God gave him to do, God chose Joshua to be Moses' successor. Joshua's name in Hebrew is Yahusha or Yahushua. This is the same name as Jesus. Jesus in Hebrew is Yahusha or Yahushua, which means Yahuwah is salvation. Here we see a type and an antitype. Joshua is the shadow and Jesus is the substance. Moses was not permitted to enter the promised land. Moses represents the law. Joshua was chosen by God to lead the 12 tribes of Israel into the promised land. Joshua represents the Messiah, Yahusha HaMashiach. The picture here is that no one will enter the promised land, that is salvation, by the works of the law. Entry into the promised land, that is salvation, is by following Yahusha HaMashiach. I wanted to make that clear because the type, Joshua, is about to come face to face with the antitype, Jesus, in the form of the angel of Yahuwah. This is a very unique passage in the Bible, and I think it is germane to our study. In Joshua chapter 5, Joshua and the Israelites crossed over the Jordan a few days earlier. They have kept the Passover and eaten the fruit of the land of Canaan. In the next few verses we see that Joshua is near the city of Jericho when he encounters a man with his sword drawn. Joshua chapter 5 verses 13 through 15. And it came to pass when Joshua was by Jericho, that he lifted up his eyes and looked. And behold, there stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went unto him and said unto him, Are you for us, or for our adversaries? And he said, Nay, but as captain of the host of Yahuwah am I now come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth, and did worship, and said unto him, What says Adonai, or the Lord, unto his servant? And the captain of Yahuwah's host said unto Joshua, Loose your shoe from off your foot, for the place whereon you stand is holy. And Joshua did so. That is all the Bible has to say about that encounter. Since that is all the information we have, let's take a look at it in some detail. Here we see the angel of the Yahuwah appearing as a flame of fire. This angel of Yahuwah, this flame of fire, then speaks to Moses. When he speaks, the scriptures identify him as God. God called unto him out of the midst of the bush. When he, God, speaks, he uses the exact same phrase as we see in Joshua, Put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. These types of occurrences are called theophanies or Christophanies, meaning appearances of God or appearances of Christ. I think the terms are a distraction. We need to really look at what is going on here. In the passages in Exodus, the angel of Yahuwah is identified as God. In the passages in Joshua, the man does not protest when Joshua worships him. This is clearly God also. In Joshua, the man is identified as the captain of the army of Yahuwah. This is clearly Jesus. Whether theophany or Christophany, it is always Jesus, Yahusha HaMashiach. Even in Exodus, when the scripture says, And when Yahuwah saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush, it is still Jesus. By his name Yahusha, he was not known at that time. John chapter 1 verse 18, No man hath seen God at any time, the only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. People who want to dispute what I have written in this post and other posts always want to claim that Jesus must return to earth to fight the Antichrist and defeat him. I want you to see and understand that Jesus is and has always been the captain of the army of Yahuwah. He did not have to rend the heavens and come down to meet with Joshua face to face. You do not see Jesus or the angel of Yahuwah leading Joshua or any other judges into battle. But make no mistake, when you see the Ark of the Covenant going before them into battle, the captain of the army of Yahuwah is there. He may take his sword and fight, or if there is sin in the camp of Israel, he may withhold his sword. In either case, he is there. Let's take a look at the next time the angel of Yahuwah appears. In Judges chapter 1, Joshua has passed away, and the tribes of Israel are continuing the conquest of the land. In the last half of the chapter we see Manasseh, Ephraim, Zebulun, Asher, Naphtali, and Dan all failing to drive out the inhabitants of the land. In chapter 2 we see the angel of Yahuwah appearing again. Here are those verses. Judges chapter 2 verses 1 through 5. And an angel of Yahuwah came up from Gilgal to Bochim and said, I made you to go up out of Egypt, and have brought you unto the land which I swear unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you, and ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. Ye shall throw down their altars, but ye have not obeyed my voice. Why have ye done this? Wherefore I also said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns in your sides, and their gods shall be a snare unto you. And it came to pass, when the angel of Yahuwah spake these words unto all the children of Israel, that the people lifted up their voice and wept. And they called the name of that place Bochim, and they sacrificed there unto the Yahuwah. Gilgal is where Joshua met the angel of Yahuwah. Now we see the angel of Yahuwah coming from Gilgal to Bochim to meet with all the children of Israel. I do not know if I am more stunned to see him meet with everyone, or if I am more stunned that they do not seem all that surprised to see him. In either case, we have scriptural evidence of Yahusha HaMashiach physically interacting with his people without the need for a second coming. This is why this subject is germane to our study. In the government of Israel, when conducted in the manner that Yahuwah has chosen, you have seen and will see Yahusha HaMashiach, both sitting on the throne of David in the heavenly Mount Zion, and also physically interacting with his people when he chooses. Isaiah chapter 1 verse 26. And I will restore your judges as at the first, and your counselors as at the beginning. Afterward you shall be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city.